The identity of an individual is essentially a function of her choices, rather than the discovery of an immutable attribute. Poverty is not just a lack of money, it is not having the capability to realize one's full potential as a human being. Economic growth without investment in human development is unsustainable and unethical. The success of a society is to be evaluated primarily by the freedoms that members of the society enjoy. While I am interested both in economics and in philosophy, the union of my interests in the two fields far exceeds their intersection. Empowering women is key to building a future we want. Poverty is the deprivation of opportunity. I believe that virtually all the problems in the world come from inequality of one kind or another. Starvation is the characteristic of some people not having enough food to eat. It is not the characteristic of there being not enough food to eat. No famine has ever taken place in the history of the world in a functioning democracy. We need to ask the moral questions. Do I have a right to be rich? And do I have a right to be content living in a world with so much poverty and inequality? These questions motivate us to view the issue of inequality as central to human living. A society can be Pareto optimal and still perfectly disgusting. Resenting the obtuseness of others is not good ground for shooting oneself in the foot. It is important to reclaim for humanity the ground that has been taken from it by various arbitrarily narrow formulations of the demands of rationality. A defeated argument that refuses to be obliterated can remain very alive. Progress is more plausibly judged by the reduction of deprivation than by the further enrichment of the opulent. Human life depends not only on income but also on social opportunities, for example, what the state does for educating. Freedoms are not only the primary ends of development, they are also among its principal means. Imparting education not only enlightens the receiver, but also broadens the giver, the teachers, the parents, the friends. Human ordeals thrive on ignorance. To understand a problem with clarity is already halfway towards solving it. Economics, as it has emerged, can be made more productive by paying greater and more explicit attention to the ethical considerations that shape human behavior and judgment. Nor let us be resentful when others differ from us. For all men have hearts, and each heart has its own leanings. Their right is our wrong, and our right is their wrong. Unceasing change turns the wheel of life, and so reality is shown in all its many forms. Dwell peacefully as change itself liberates all suffering sentient beings and brings them great joy. If a theory of justice is to guide reasoned choice of policies, strategies or institutions, then the identification of fully just social arrangements is neither necessary nor sufficient. Education could be a great vehicle for gender equity. It allows people to see what your rights are by reading. Quite often women, for example, may have rights that they are not in the position to actually make use of. While we cannot live without history, we need not live within it either. Anything that increases the voice of young women tends therefore to reduce the fertility rate. We might have reason to be driven. We live for a short stretch of time in a world we share with others. Virtually everything we do is dependent on others, from the arts and culture to farmers who grow the food we eat. No substantial famine has ever occurred in any independent and democratic country with a relatively free press. Sometimes the lack of substantive freedoms relates directly to economic poverty. You have to be interested in inequality. The issue of inequality and that of poverty are not separable. Gender inequality is not one problem, it's a collection of problems. Prolixity is not alien to us in India. We are able to talk at some length. Your voice is much more articulate and people listen to you if you've been to school. In family decisions, not surprisingly, the biggest impact in reducing fertility is girls' education. Defeated argument that refuses to be obliterated can remain very alive. There are two principal approaches to secularism, focusing respectively on 1. Neutrality between different religions, and 2. Prohibition of religious associations and state activities.